Hey, I'm Jason, the head coach of Strength Running and host of the Strength Running podcast. I am so excited because right now we are kicking off Mindset Week here at Strength Running. I'm going to be producing and publishing a new video every single day about how to deal with certain mental aspects of the sport of running. Today, I want to get started by talking about burnout. Burnout is a very real phenomenon among runners, and I want to talk today about what it is and how you can prevent it in your training. Because I think right now, in this moment in time, a lot more runners are dealing with burnout. Now, burnout is very different than, say, overtraining. Overtraining is a very specific physiological issue. Overtraining is when you simply have trained so hard and recovered so little that your body is running on fumes. You have all these biomarkers that are indicating you're not recovering properly, and efforts that used to feel easy now feel really hard. The only real solution to that is a complete reset. We have to take time off from running and really just get our engines back to neutral so that internally, physiologically, we can keep training hard. Now, burnout is a little bit different. Burnout can include symptoms of overtraining, but burnout is more of a mental phenomenon. This is what happens when you're no longer interested in training hard. You just don't really want to. You don't have the emotional reserves of willpower, of drive, of motivation. And there could be a lot of reasons for this. And in this video today, I want to talk about why this specific issue happens so that you can identify it early. You can take those steps to mitigate it, and above all, you can build certain things into your training so that you don't ever have to deal with burnout, hopefully, in the future. So burnout can include some aspects of overtraining. So if you are overtraining, if you've increased your intensity, if you're just running really hard on most days and you're not recovering properly, then you're going to start to experience both overtraining and burnout. You may not really feel too emotionally ready to run. You may not feel motivated to run. You just may not really have the energy or the drive to go do your run, go do your workout. Because let's face it, hard training is hard. And when you have to go run a decent amount every day, or you have one or two hard workouts a week with a long run, all of a sudden, there's very little margin for error. You have to be on almost every day. You have to be able to execute. You have to be able to do the training that you need to do. And if you're starting to feel burned out, you're not going to be able to do that. This is one of the reasons why I don't really write training plans that are longer than about 20 weeks. Because I've found that the longer a training plan, the longer a runner has to formally stay on a specific schedule, it really does increase the risk of burnout. It's like taking a class, you go to college and there's, your summer break, your fall break, your winter break, you're always taking all these breaks. Why? Because you can't study so hard month after month after month. Just like higher education is cyclical, so must our training be cyclical as well. So burnout can be caused by overtraining. It can also be caused by a lack of recovery. So if your training is great, but you're only sleeping 6 hours a night and you're running your easy runs too fast, then we're gonna start to feel burnout in those situations too. But it can also happen because of things that are outside of your control. Like, say right now, there's a pandemic. If you've lost your job, if your relationship is under stress, if you're dealing with sickness, either for yourself or someone in your family, or if you're just so tired from being home without that sense of community, without interacting with more people. We are very social animals to begin with. Then you will start feeling this feeling of burnout. And also because of the pandemic, we haven't had any races. So not only are a lot of runners kind of left adrift with no real tangible goals to focus on, but another big problem too is that because there are no goals, there are no races, there are no group runs, there are no gyms and classes to take, there are no buddies to go running with, because a lot of us are quarantining right now. So the lack of community and lack of social support really drains our emotional reserves of willpower, of drive, and really of our interest in the sport. We're not getting all that great feedback from racing, from our running buddies, and everything in between. So we have to be able to recognize that right now it's hard to train hard, and burnout is going to be a lot more common. So our goals right now should be to do everything we can to stay in good shape, but also to stay in good mental shape so that we can maintain our reserves of mental fitness so that when we can run races, when races do start opening up, because it will happen, we are ready for that. So if our goal is then to prevent burnout, to always be engaged with our training, to always be excited about running, how can we do that? One of the best ways is to simply ensure that your training is sound. Proper training solves a lot of runners' problems. And if you're following a sound training plan, guess what? You're like halfway there, because what you're doing with a sound training plan is you're preventing overtraining, which is one of the big causes of burnout. So if you're following a good training plan, number one, there's going to be adequate recovery in between your hard days. So the effort of your entire week is evenly distributed. You're not going to run 2 hard workouts in a day. You're not going to be increasing your mileage too quickly. You're not going to be increasing your long run too dramatically with every other week cut back long runs. That is not the consistent way to properly build the long run. And when you can implement sound training for yourself, you are going to take care of a lot of these issues. These issues are really scheduling problems. And if we can get the schedule right, then our effort, how we feel on a daily basis, is going to be dramatically improved. We can also use one of my prior coach's favorite lines, "Don't burn the candle at both ends." Now, this was my college cross-country coach, and he said this to basically mean, don't do the really hard training and then go back to your dorm room and stay up until 2 in the morning chasing someone that you might be interested in and not get the rest that you need. And maybe you stay out too late partying. That was the college version of don't burn the candle at both ends. But for most of us right now, what this means is you need to get adequate sleep every night. We need to try to reduce stress, both professional stress, social stress, relationship stress. Stress is stress, and it's going to increase your risk of burnout if it's not properly dealt with. And then, of course, there's the nutrition side of things. If your diet is full of processed foods and loads of sugar and it lacks nutrient-dense foods, you're going to put yourself at a higher risk of burnout because you're not giving your body the fuel it needs to fuel your runs and to fuel your recovery. And because a lot of us right now are dealing with a lack of community, we're not meeting up with the local club that we usually hang out with and go for runs with. We're not meeting new runners at races. And a lot of the in-person events that we runners just love are no longer around because of the pandemic. I know for me, there's been conferences and running camps and retreats that I've had to miss that I just love to attend. I love interacting with runners, and I just haven't really got that in the last year, and it's been challenging. And so one way to reduce our risk of burnout is to make up for the lack of social interaction with virtual interaction. It's not the same. It will never take the place of real life, in-person social support, but it's the next best thing. And hopefully it'll keep you going until you can get in touch with more runners out in the real world. So find a virtual challenge that puts something tangible on the schedule for you to go after, but also connects you with other runners. There are virtual teams that you can join. There are online groups, Facebook groups, wherever you can find other runners so that you can share running stories with, talk about your goals, ask about how other runners are dealing with their problems or even their successes. What happens when you accomplish a huge goal? A lot of runners don't know what to do after that. Should you keep the ball rolling and do something else? Or should you try something totally different? It helps to talk to other runners. So find that group, no matter where it is online, because they really will help you stay motivated, stay driven to train when motivation is kind of at an all-time low right now. You can also learn the mental skills that will better prepare you for these challenging times. Skills like mental toughness, confidence, focus, anxiety management, or how to properly modulate your intensity levels. These are mental skills that are critical for the success of distance runners. They help you in the middle of a hard workout when you're trying to grind through the last couple repetitions. They help you in a race where you need to stay tough and really hang on for dear life at the end of a race. And they help you in between, when mental toughness can often be described as simply your ability to stay the course. Can you stay the course with your training month after month after month after month? You can if you're burned out. But if you're practicing these mental skills, it will become a lot easier. Now, we also must remember that burnout can be intensely personal. The reasons why you might not be as invested in your training right now can be totally different from some of the reasons why someone else is not as driven with their running. So if you have any specific questions about your training, about your motivation, about why you may be experiencing some mental burnout right now, feel free to leave a comment under this video and I'll try to help. And if you'd rather talk to me privately, you can always email me. My email is support@strengthrunning.com and I'm here to help. And because a lot of us right now are right now, yes.